Hello and welcome to another RPG Papermaker tutorial. Today we're going to talk about how to make custom buildings in this engine, and I'm going to show you 4 different methods. We're starting with the simplest one, where you just customize the pre-made 3D model. For this you go into the 3D object section, you go and update list, and you first need to find the model. I needed a little moment for that, but this house model has different designs, a wood design, a stone design, and all kinds of stuff like that. And what you can do is you basically take the texture and you copy it in whatever folder you have for editing stuff on your computer, and then you can customize that in whatever pixel art engine you like to use. And I personally have done this multiple times before. If you would like to see a video about that, I have made some welcome home fan game videos where I designed the houses of the characters in this fandom in RPG Papermaker, and you can watch the speed paint on that. That might help you out a little bit. But yes, this is how you can place them, and here you can see how they look from all the sides. Of course, you can also just take the texture that is pre-made and try to customize that one just a tiny bit. And here I'm going to show you how you import those designs. So basically what you want to do is you want to copy the 3D house model. That's just the simplest way, because then you have all the dimensions and everything already done. You click on copy, plus, and then you put that in there, and then you have the model here. And all you need to do now is to add your custom texture. So for that, you go into the project folder, you copy and paste whatever design you have made. This is one for a slice of life game, life sim game that I've been working on. I wanted to make it look kind of dark, but also with neon colors. It's like a computer cat character who I made this house for, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with the design of this one. And you can just rename it, put it over there, and then put it on your map. And with this, you have the basic house shape. Also keep in mind, you can do this with also a box shape. For example, if you want the exact dimensions to be like with the object you're copying, like there are these 3D block buildings, then you can also just copy that and then put a fitting texture on that. And I'm gonna also show you another house design that I made. This is a variation from one of the houses that I made inspired by Welcome Home. Frank's house is a pretty good basis for a standard house, so I took that one and customized it greatly, just to have a skeleton basically of where I want the windows to be, etc. And I made it blue because I like that color. And here you can see you can also just put that over there, put it on the map. And this is great if you also just want to go with basic house shapes, but if you want to go with a different shape, something more custom, then we also have a few more methods you can use. So this is not the only way it can be done. You don't need to create 3D objects for everything, and you don't have to make it all fit this. Also with the post office that I made for Welcome Home, I actually combined a house shape with a block shape, 2 block shapes actually, because one end of it has more of a typical pointed roof and the other half of it is more flat. Now here you can see you can also change the dimensions afterwards. You can go in there and go into the scaling, you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, if you want some buildings to be more bigger or smaller. Like, it makes me think of that one video I once watched. It was like a news report where some dude built like a little town for cats with like those tiny houses, and it was absolutely adorable. So I don't know, if you want, for example, if you have a fantasy world and you want some species to have bigger houses or smaller houses, like goblins having smaller ones, giants having bigger ones, that's a method you can use. or just for individual characters. It's really practical and you don't have to remake the whole pixelated design, which is great. Now, next thing we're going to talk about is more unique shapes. So by utilizing walls and floors, you can build your whole own thing. So here I'm going to first use some of the walls and stuff that we have pre-made in the engine, and I'm just going to build a basic structure idea that I had in my head, and then we're going to look at it in different perspectives that you can set in there. And with this, you can make the buildings really unique, and you can add stuff like gardens, you can add stuff like balconies, and use this 2.5 engine really in a way where it's not all just really flat and 2D looking, but it actually has more depth. And here you can see that I'm using the floor to create a balcony-like thing. And I use the guardrails that you have for a bridge to kind of have a rim, a fence, so to say. I don't know the correct word for it, but the fence you have on a balcony, there's probably a specific word for that. But yeah, I struggle a little bit because they did not really have a wall design here that looks like a proper door or an entrance for such a house or something to really be behind a balcony. So, but for now, let's just look at how this looks. And this is how it looks when you use the regular perspective. Shortly, we're also going to look at it in another perspective, the isometric one. And yeah, you can also make that technically if the hero enters here and then that they come out in the garden and maybe there's an NPC and they can interact with them, right? So here's where you can change the perspective, and you can set it to isometric if you like. You can also set it to first person, and here you can see how the building looks. Now, it's really important that you check this multiple times while you're building, especially larger structures, because some parts of it the player may not even see when they play it, especially in the first perspective that I just showed. In the isometric, you can show usually more. So here I tried to make more of a typical door entrance. For this, I took my house design that I showed earlier, the blue house, and took the parts and put them in here and edited everything together. And I'm going to put that in the engine and try to rebuild that house structure and make it look more like an actual house. In the process of this, I also thought like, hey, I started putting asset packs, free to download ones so far, on my Ko-fi shop. You can check out the link in the description for that if you're starting out with the engine and you want to try out some asset packs. I have been struggling to find any. And so I thought, hey, I've been doing some stuff for my games that I haven't published. Why not just put it out there as asset packs, the stuff I made so far? So, and I've also been thinking about maybe making an asset pack, especially, like, specifically for making houses with walls and floors. Tell me if you're interested in that. I might make it. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I do want to continue making these asset packs. I'm kind of excited about this whole thing. But yeah, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the wall that I pre-made and put it on the wall we have used so far. Also keep in mind the walls that are pre-made in this engine, they have different sizes. So don't just take any wall and edit it. There are some that are higher, there are some that are lower, and depending on how you want to do it, like with balconies especially, you should really pay attention to that. So yeah, I put in a wall and we're going to build the building with it in a moment. All right. Yeah, and it's absolutely not going to look perfect. I was just so disappointed with the pre-made stuff that I was like, I need to do something about this. Yeah, and I was a little bit too lazy to create a new floor for this, I'll be honest. but I will in a moment make some other stuff to enhance this whole thing. I also noticed that with the door sizing, you can't really make a slim door. It needs to be at least 3 blocks, I think. And here you can see how I try to make a proper fence, because the thing we have so far is more like guardrails designed for a bridge. We don't really have a pre-made proper fence, so I just try to quickly make something like that. Also, if you want me to put the stuff that I made so far, even though I'm not the happiest with it, if you would like to have that as a free asset pack on my Ko-fi page, so you can download it if you would be interested in that, let me know in the comments below. I would love to know, because I'm like, that's how I know what people are interested in. I'll just be honest. And with this now, we need to see if it properly works, because when you place walls, depending on how far you place them, of how many blocks you place them on, they can shift a little bit and it can look strange, so it's really important to check that. Also, if you put new walls in this engine, make sure that they have collision. I did not do that with all the walls here because I didn't need it. It's just to show on YouTube, but it's important if you actually put it in a game, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is make guardrails, or whatever you call it, for the balcony. I try to go with something very basic and go with the same coloring, with the same shades of brownish, I guess. It's kind of between red, orange, and brown, as I used for the fence and also for the rims of the house, to make it all kind of fit together. And here just like copy and paste the whole stuff over, and we basically already have the thing done. We just need to mirror it over there and then mirror it again so the shading fits. And now we can put it in the engine and see what it looks like. So I was pretty satisfied with this one actually, but I always go into the game and check if it actually looks how it's supposed to look, if it actually works. I wasn't 100% happy with the first fence that I made, but I didn't really feel like remaking it completely. And another thing I made is I made another wall that's just the same as the one we've used so far, but with a window. Here we also need to pay attention to how it's stretching and if it looks weird because of that. But I just wanted to have some windows so it looks more like a building. So yeah. I think this one was also looking the best with 3 blocks, but you can see if I make it more than that, then the window works pretty well in stretching itself and duplicating and smashing together. And yeah, this is what it looks in isometric. I was also thinking about making something that works on the balcony, so I just took these more window-like pre-made sprites and recolored them in a way that also fits the wood and so on and so forth. And I didn't really feel like making a lot of light effects here, especially because the windows that I used so far are all black on the inside, as in no one's home. So I just went with the same theme here, put that in the engine, replace the stuff. And as I said, this isn't perfect. I just made this because I was unsatisfied, but I might actually sit down sometime and make a whole thing just for that. And yeah. With this, you can make pretty unique structures. I made something more basic here, right? I'm not much into architecture, but keep in mind that you use a floor for the roof, and for that you would like to have a floor that looks more roof-like, or if something is supposed to be a balcony that looks more balcony-like. Yeah, so the little building to the right was also supposed to be a balcony, but I was struggling with the door. Oh yeah, and I also remade the entranceway by taking the frame of the door that I made. So it's basically like the entrance frame you have already, but the other one is see-through and you can walk through it. And this one is actually black, so it looks like you're entering a building, so you can't walk inside the building. You have to actually interact with it, and it doesn't look weird and awkward. And this one is also one you can place like this, without having to worry about stretching stuff if it looks weird and all that. So yeah, now the side building has a little entrance looking thingy. Yeah. And this also didn't take me as long to make because I was using stuff from the house I already made, so that's more chill, right? But yeah, here you can also see how it looks in isometric. Isometric, I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about building by utilizing 3D blocks. So basically what we're doing here is there's an option in the 3D objects where you can make something just a block. For this you can also copy something that is sized just like a regular block and then put a custom texture on top of that. However, something I want to mention here is that I also publish the blocks that I have made just in my free time for hobby projects on Ko-fi, and you can download them for free if you would like to use this method for yourself, if you would like to maybe just experiment with it. And you're also free to customize it. All the info about it is in the product description. And as I said, you can get it for free. So if you just want to try out some stuff, like, go for it. I'm happy to share this stuff because it was a lot of work and I would just love to see it out in the world. And it's pretty cool to build buildings with that. You can go with unique shapes and it feels kind of Minecraft-like. And yeah, you can create some fun stuff with it. I also have made trees and stuff with it, and it's just kind of nice. Yeah, so I also made like porches and stuff like that. You can see with the other building that I built before. And yeah, another method. Oh yeah, and about 3D models. So of course you can also make your own 3D models or get ones from online, but there's some important stuff to know when it comes to 3D models in this engine. So first you wanna basically find or make an object for this. I'm just gonna show you something that I use, like a tree. And for this tree I needed an object file to put in the projects folder. This is the file of the 3D model that you need. And on top of that, you will need one texture. I have seen that some 3D models also have multiple textures. That's not going to work. You need one texture that goes on top of this. And you need to also put that into the project folder. Here you can see some of the textures. At the bottom, you can see the textures of the tree, which are not pixelated. I edited them a little bit in an art program, and you can also change the size of this one. Anyway, if you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Check out my Ko-fi if you want to see my asset packs, and I'll see you in the next one.